Okay, so following the logic of the previous explanation, I'm going to create and duplicate a wall and a curtain wall so I can embed the wall into the curtain wall. So let's do that. It sounds a little crazy what I just said, but let's try that. I'm going to create this wall. I'm going to make it actually the precast, so we don't have any of those, so we have to actually make it. And you have in the lecture PDF, you have the layers that you should use. So I'm going to use the CMU on brick as well, the default. I'm going to edit the type, edit, preview, and I'm going to start, whoops. Actually, let me start with the generic wall, which is the one we have here, no? Generic 8 inches, there you go. I'm going to edit the type, duplicate, and I'm going to call this precast concrete 8 inches. We're going to go furring and gypsum wall board. Okay, I'm going to say okay. I'm going to edit the type. I'm going to add those layers that I just mentioned. I'm going to say insert. I'm going to place this as a thermal air layer and make it a furring layer. So I type furring. There it is, metal furring. I'm going to make that 3 inches, and I'm going to create another layer on top. It's going to be a finish in gypsum board, no? And I'm going to make that 1 inch. Total of 12. Okay, for now we're only changing this wall, which is good. We have that wall now done. We're going to duplicate another curtain wall. We'll take the default curtain wall, which I call the default here. And I'm going to edit the type and duplicate it, not as default. I'm going to call it precast concrete wall. Okay. Say okay. So that becomes that wall. So as I said before, I can make each of the panels be a wall. So I can actually go to that one and edit the type, and here where it says curtain panel, I just want all the panels to be the wall that I created before. So I'm going to go to basic wall, and I called it precast. So here is precast concrete. Say okay, and there is, it changes. Okay, so what we're going to do is select this element and change it to a curtain wall precast concrete wall. We're going to do it for both of them. And let's go to the plan and see what happens. A curtain wall, let's go to also detail, fine. The gypsum board is inside, so let's select it and flip it. Actually, before I do that, there's two ways of selecting a curtain wall. One is the panel. Now there's only one big panel, so you select that, it turns blue, the whole thing. If I escape that, another way of selecting a curtain wall is to select the curtain wall, which is selecting this line. This is the location of the curtain wall. And you know that you have selected a curtain wall when it tells you here what it is. Otherwise, if I select the panel, it will tell me this is the wall, and you cannot change much, because it's embedded to the curtain wall. So I'm going to select the curtain wall and flip that wall, so the furring and the gypsum board is inside, and I'm going to move it MV to meet the slab. Okay, let's see, we select the curtain wall. We're going to flip that as well. I'm going to move it to match the slab. Okay, we need to arrange a little bit the corners, otherwise it's a little tricky. So you can also select any current wall and select the current wall, which is that line again, and you have this point that you can drag around and extend the current walls. Okay, I'm going to extend it so this one is aligned to this point, and I don't want to touch the other current wall. I'm going to leave that little gap there, which is the previous step before touching it. Okay, now in this side I want to align it exactly to the edge of the slab. You will see why later on. Good. Let's go to 3D and see how this looks. Another thing is that this wall I created does not have concrete in the face for whatever reason. Let's go and see what happened with that wall that we did before. This is the wall. Edit the type, edit, preview. From the general wall that we had before, 8 inches, we never changed the material, or if we changed it, I didn't. So I'm going to change the structure to be a precast, which is what we want, no? Precast concrete. Say OK, OK, and now you should have that nice look of precast concrete tone. Okay, we don't need these two guys, so that's over. And now it's a matter of start dealing with the seams that I talked before between each of the panels, and we need to be able to place a curtain wall within this curtain wall and windows inside of the panels. So it's a little bit like a lot of stuff, so it will take probably another couple of videos, but let's go slowly into the different details. Okay, so if you go to the section which is pretty much the elevation of the front, let me turn off this. Right now we have a big panel. Okay, I want to create grid lines for the panel, and I want them to correspond with the grid lines of the project and the levels of the project. To do that, as I did before, you go to current grid, and remember, if you're in the top line, horizontal, it creates vertical grids. So I just need to be there and correspond with the project grids and place them one by one right there. I think you can also cancel this and copy the grid so they correspond with the grid, but otherwise I'm just placing a curtain wall grid in the project grids. Okay, there you go. So I'm going to cancel that so you see what happened in the 3D. This is what I did. You see how I can select now grids. So in a way I could give a mullion right now to this grid, but we don't want a mullion, we want to use it for other purposes. Okay, let's Control tab that and place more curtain grids. And again, if we're in the vertical line, we are able to place horizontal grids. Okay, I want to correspond those with the levels. By the way, as you place these guys, you see how it's flipping the material. So we're going to have to flip the wall again entirely. Now I'm not sure which level is that, so I'm going to go here, and I think it's right here, level 3. I'm going to go to the top. Just give me a second. I'm going to flip that, and I'm going to leave the bottom ones to be a different material, which is okay. It's pretty much also an idea of we need to create another wall to change that. So all these are panels with grids between them that I can tap them, you see. So obviously after this video tutorials, you're not going to see the benefits of doing all this mess of grids. And so the good thing about this is that we can get the surface of each of the panels, and we can tag each of the panels, we can separate each of the panels, we can even change the color of each of the panels and pretty much play with the panels that we couldn't before. So that's why we're doing this method. Okay, we're going to do the same in this other facade. I'm going to go to the plan. Which means to this section. And I'm going to place also several current grids here. Vertical, vertical, horizontal, horizontal, horizontal. Now this is level 3, level 3. And again, it flips the wall, so I have to go to the wall and flip this wall. There you go. Okay. See that I place not in every grid, I place only in every two, so every other one. And then you have your elements, okay? Good. Next step is placing rebuilds where there's a grid. That's a little tricky. So let's go again to the section, which is the elevation, and we need a new rebuild. So what we're going to do is a new profile. So it's new, family. We can go to PS profiles, rebuild. Okay, we're going to create a rectangle here, line, rectangle. I normally do just a, without looking much, you can select the lines and make them 8 inches here. Select the other line and change this one to, let's say, 2 inches. I can select the whole thing, move it to the center, and I can save it and call it rebuild. Let's call it precast concrete seam rebuild. Now, how easy would it be that if you had a different design between a curtain panel and another one, some of them have a special like feature, so one locks inside of the other one. We're going to keep it simple and make a rectangular one. After you're done with the profile, you can load it into the project, and not much is going to happen, but you know it's there, so it should be fine. And now you can go and place rebuild. So you know it's under wall rebuild, and it's going to select whatever last rebuild we did, which was the gym rebuild, and we're going to place, it should be here. Actually, let's duplicate it, edit type, duplicate, and call it precast concrete rebuild and seam. Say OK. On the profiles, we should find precast concrete seam rebuild. Okay, say OK. And now you can place any rebuild, as we know, vertically or horizontally. So I'm going to just place a vertical here. Here's the tricky thing I'll explain in a second. You go snap to the center, and you can always select and create similar. Unfortunately, we cannot copy them, and I will explain afterwards why. Say create similar, and you do that all the way to the right. You're also going to place another rebuild, horizontal, snap to the center, escape that, right click, create similar, and you place it also in all the levels corresponding with the grids. No? So again, right click, create similar, snap. So you can select the rebuild and take it all the way to the end of that current system, and the vertical ones to the end of the panels as well. You have to do it with all of them. And before you think you're over, let's go to the 3D and explain what happened here. The rebuild is there, but as you can see, it's cutting one of the walls, meaning one of the panels. We want to always cut out in both of the panels. When you select, I'm escaping and selecting again the rebuild, this option appears, is add remove walls. You can select that one so the rebuild affects both of the walls. Also happens that with the horizontal rebuild, so you can add, select. Fortunately, you're going to have to do that for all the panels and all the rebuilds, and keep it clean, always the same gap both vertically and horizontally. I will do that between videos so it doesn't take so much time of video. Okay, I'm going to stop it there.